Today we will be looking at some specific examples of using the percent equation. The first being finding tax and the second one being finding commission. Now one thing to remember is our percent equation like we saw yesterday. Part equals percent over 100 times the whole. Because we're going to be using that same equation when we solve equations for sales tax and when we solve equations for commission. So our first example is for sales tax. Sales tax on an item is a percent of the item's price. Find the total price by adding the sales tax to the item's price. So you see sales tax all the time when you go to the store and you buy something. So sales tax is a percent of what the item's price is. Now it's not going to be bigger than the item's price because then you would be spending more on tax than you do on the item, which isn't what we see in real life. So when we calculate sales tax, just like when we did part equals percent times whole, we're going to take sales tax equals the sales tax rate times the item's cost. So the item's cost is kind of like our whole amount, and the sales tax is like the part because it's a small portion of the item's cost. Then once we find our sales tax, to figure out the total amount that you would spend at the store, you'll have to take your total. To get your total, you're going to take sales tax plus the price of the item. So whatever the original price was, we add the sales tax onto it because we have to pay the sales tax, but we're also paying for the item. Now another example of how the percent equation can be used is with commission. So if you haven't heard of commission before, some companies give salespeople a commission or a percentage of the selling price of each item they sell. Find the amount of money the company earns on the item by subtracting the commission from the selling price. So in real life, a lot of people's jobs have commission. For instance, if you are a car salesman, a lot of times you get commission on the cars that you sell. Or if you work at a clothing store, you get commission on the clothing that you sell. And commission is a percentage of the amount that you sell. So to find it, again, we're using part equals percent times whole, where the percent this time is going to be the commission rate, where the part is the commission because the commission is a part of the entire amount that you sell that you earn back. And then the whole amount is going to be our selling price. Now once we find our commission, another thing that sometimes you might have to find is the base price. And the base price is what the company gets for whatever was sold. So to find our base price, we're going to take the selling price, so what they sold the item for, and subtract the commission. For instance, if you think about a car dealership, the person who sells the car is going to get commission, but then whatever is left over from how much it was sold, and then the commission is what the company makes for that car. So we're going to look at some examples of tax. So this first example says a soccer team is having dinner at a restaurant to celebrate their winning season. The frazzled waiter gives them an incomplete bill. Help the team fill in the missing amounts. So again, we're using part equals percent over 100 times the whole. So we see our bill over here. We have our hamburgers, spaghetti, fries, Caesar salad, and a milkshake. And the subtotal is $142. The subtotal is the amount before the tax is applied. And then the total is going to be our amount after the tax is applied. So to get our tax, which is what we have to find here first, we have to take our part equals percent over 100 times whole, and our percent in this case is our meal tax, which is 5%. So we're going to take 5% of the entire subtotal, 142, so we can see how much we have to pay for tax. So we're trying to find the part, so we plug in y for the part. Our percent's 5%, so remember percent means out of 100, so 5 out of 100. Times the whole amount, 142. Then our next step is to divide our fraction, 5 over 100, just like we did yesterday, because that's going to make it easier to work with. So now we have y equals 0.05 times 142, which gives us a total amount of tax is $7.10. So that's how much we're going to pay in tax for this item. But one thing to remember when calculating taxes, you're not just paying for the tax, you also have the full amount that you paid before. So to figure out the total amount that you're going to pay the restaurant, we have to take $142 plus $7.10, and that's going to give us a total of $149.10. So next we're going to look at an example of finding commission. So this example at the very bottom says that a car dealership, a car salesman, is trying to sell a car to his client. His commission rate is 6%. And the first question they say is how much would the car salesman earn on each car? And after that, we're going to figure out how much the car dealership would make on each car. So let's start off with finding the commission, how much the car salesman is going to make. So we have these nice 3 cars right here. The first one is $16,800. The second one is $25,400, and the last one is $33,000. So we know that each of these, for selling them, the car salesman is going to make 6% commission. So if we're plugging in each of these into our percent formula, we're going to take part equals percent over 100 times the whole, where the whole is the full selling price. So to find our part, to find the commission for the first car, we take y equals the percent, so 6 over 100 times the price of the car. 6 over 100 is going to give us 0.06, like we see below here, times 16,800, which gives us a commission amount of $1,008. So what that means is that the car salesman earned $1,008 for selling that car that was $16,800. Now what you'll see over here is that we're doing the same thing with the second and third cars. So we take y equals the same commission rate, 6%, so 6 over 100 times 25,400. Just like every other percent problem, we take that percent and we make it a decimal. So 6 over 100 becomes 0.06. So we take 0.06 times 25,400, and that gives us a commission amount of $1,524. Now we do the same thing in this last example, and I skipped showing this first step since it looks the same as the other two. So I just wrote this as 6%, so y equals 0.06 times 33,000, which gives us a commission amount of $1,980. So that answers the first part of this question, how much the salesperson would earn on each of these 3 cars. So now we're going to find how much the car dealership would make. So to find that, all that we have to do is take the cost of the car and then subtract what the car salesman made on that car, because the car salesman is getting $1,008 for the first car, so that has to come from somewhere, and that comes from the cost of that car. In the second car, it costs $25,400, and we're going to take $1,524 away. And in the third car, since it costs $33,000, we have to take that amount away, that $1,980. And that's what you're going to see below. So we take our total selling cost for the car, the selling price for the car, and we subtract our commission from it, and that tells us how much the car dealership would make. So the car dealership makes $15,792 on the first car, $23,876 on the second car, and $31,020 on the second car. Okay, so we're going to look at another example of the difference between getting an hourly wage and getting commission. So this example that we see says Taylor has a new sales job at a clothing store. She is given 2 options for how to be paid. She plans to work 4 hours per day, 5 days a week. She also estimates that she can sell about $200 worth of clothing per day. Which option would give Taylor more earnings per week? Explain. So we have option A, which is an hourly wage, and a lot of jobs do have hourly wages. But then there are other jobs that get commission, so they get paid based on what they sell. So Taylor has these 2 options, and she's trying to decide which is going to be the better option. So the first option, if she has an hourly wage of $7.15, think of that as $7.50 per hour, like the unit rates we saw in the last chapter. So if I want to figure out how much she's going to make overall in the course of a week on this hourly wage, I have to take her hourly wage, her amount per hour, and multiply it by the number of hours that we work. So if we look at the left side for option A, we see that she works 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. That means in all she works 5 times 4, 20 hours a week. And then to figure out how much she gets paid, we take $7.15 and we multiply 20, and we see that with option A, she gets $143. Now with the second option, she's making 18% commission. What they tell us in this example, they say that she thinks she can sell $200 worth of clothing per day, 5 days a week. So first thing we need to do is figure out how much she's going to sell over the course of a week, since we know how much she sells per day. So if she sells 200 per day for 5 days a week, 200 times 5 gives us a total of $1,000 per week that she sells. But that's not what she earns. To figure out what she earns, we have to use our commission equation. So we're going to have to take commission equals percent times the sales. So we know that she's making 18% commission, and she thinks she's going to make $1,000 in sales. So to get the amount that she would make in commission, we take y equals 18%, 18 over 100, times the sales, 1,000. Just like in the other examples, we change our fraction to a decimal. 18 over 100 becomes 0.18 times 1,000. We multiply those together, and then we see with her commission that she's making every week that she would make $180 in commission. So comparing option A, where she made $7.15 an hour for 20 hours, to option B is the better choice because she is making $180 in commission with the second choice, but with the first choice, she only made $143. Now, one thing to consider, though, with commission is that with the second option, if you're choosing to have a job on commission, sometimes you're not going to sell that exact amount every week. So some weeks this amount may be less and sometimes it may be more. So even though usually she's probably going to make more with option B, option A is definitely safer than option B. Now, I want you guys to use these notes as a reference for when you do your homework. So look back over them, do the examples for your homework. Make sure that you're going step by step, just like the examples that you saw in the notes.